Welcome to Backstage Pass, Rockstar Pro's official podcast. This is your opportunity to go behind the scenes of Rockstar Pro and hear from the wrestlers themselves. Now here are your hosts, Mark Turner and Bork Torkelson.
Greetings, turd burglars, and welcome to this edition of Backstage Pass, Rockstar Pro Wrestling's official podcast. And you may notice we're not coming out at our usual time, huh, Mark?
No, we're not. We're before spring break. We're a week before it, maybe a little over a week, whenever. I don't know when you're going to put this up here.
Learn how to tell time.
Yeah, this is episode 51, and we're previewing our Tournament of Flight that's coming up at the beginning of June. And before we get into all that, Bork, I'm actually on this podcast.
Yeah, I know,
It feels nice to actually be here I am at the right time, like I thought I was last time.
Hey, I reached out to you as a personal favor to you because, I gotta say, C-Dub, he came to me.
Okay.
He said, Bork, listen, I need a favor. I know only you can do it. Like, we're we're investing a lot into this Tournament of Flight. We want you to spread the word. And I was like, C-Dub, you picked the right guy. No problem. Happy to do it. You'll owe me, but I'm happy to do it. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
Bork is your man. You'll just owe me in the future. But it's no big deal. I'll totally do it. And here we are today. And I asked you to join me to help analyze the Tournament of Flight coming up in June.
I got a message from C-Dub, too. I thought he invited both of us. But yeah, I mean, it's great to do this, to talk about the Tournament of Flight. The first real tournament in Rockstar history with invitations all across North America. I mean, this is a big deal.
Yeah, it's the first time we're really reaching out. It's an invitational.
Right.
The first time we've had a tournament focused pay-per-view that stretches over 2 nights.
Right, that's a big deal.
But it's not the first tournament in Rockstar history at all.
No, it isn't. I mean, we've had the Cicero Cup before. That went interesting. 1 year, I'm not even sure if we had an official winner. It was either between Little C or Aaron Williams. That's a name from the past.
Well, it was controversial.
Yeah, it was.
And again, that was stretched out over a period of weeks, with the final happening on a pay-per-view. But this is a tournament confined within a 2-day pay-per-view.
Yeah, it is. 2 pay-per-views, back-to-back nights. I mean, other independent promotions do stuff like this. So this is the first time Rockstar Pro has ever tried this. 2 straight nights, and we're bringing in all sorts of talent from all over the world. This is a big deal to have a tournament like this. I mean, tournaments are a huge staple in independent professional wrestling.
Absolutely.
You look at some of the top events and stuff that have gotten independent promotions recognized are these huge tournaments. Whether you look at the Super 8 tournament, you look at the Battle of Los Angeles.
Sure.
You look at the Best of the Best.
Right.
You look at Ted Petty Invitational, which, a decade plus ago was an enormous tournament.
Sure.
And now Rockstar Pro's having their own, and I can't wait to see this thing grow throughout the years. I mean, it looks great this year, but I think it'll get even bigger over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we said before, there's the Cicero Cup tournament, so the Rockstar Nation is aware of this. And let's not forget, the very first Blacktop Battle.
Yeah.
Was a tournament in and of itself, I believe, to put a person into a 6-way match to determine the first Rockstar Pro champion.
Yeah, it was. We've had tournaments before, but the other tournaments we've had in Rockstar Pro have been confined to the Rockstar Pro roster.
That's exactly right.
In this tournament, we're having invitations all across North America. We have Canadians. We have people from Mexico coming in. The best in the USA. This is really big. This is a big deal. I can't wait to see how Rockstar Pro, the 7 competitors on the Rockstar Pro roster, compete against the 9 across North America. I mean, it'll be really interesting to see how this goes down.
Absolutely, and given the spirit of that, what we'd like to do this episode is just kind of go through that lineup, all 16 competitors in Rockstar Pro's Tournament of Flight, and kind of break it down, maybe talk about some matches we've seen with these gentlemen that we've preferred, and I don't know, maybe even make some predictions.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, like we said earlier, there are 16 competitors in this tournament. Mm-hmm. We'll have 8 singles matches on the first day
of the
tournament on the Friday, June 2nd, and then Saturday, June 3rd, we will determine the winner. We will have 4 second-round matchups, and the winner of those 4 matches will compete in a 4-way match in the main event to determine the winner of the Tournament of Flight. It's going to be very exciting.
That's right. And you know what? I've got a little tidbit of information I think deserves to be thrown in.
Let's do it.
That second night, I believe, would be June 3rd.
Yes. 2 plus 1, yeah.
Go
ahead.
Thank you.
Just felt like I'd say that.
If you do the math, 8 tournament matches the first night, as you said, 5 the second night, but the second night isn't going to be just 5 matches.
No.
You'll see some of your Rockstar favorites there as well that second night.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm sure we'll have some people that came up short in the first round of the tournament. They'll compete as well in non-tournament matchups in night 2.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a stacked card, no doubt about it. But we have 16 competitors in this tournament.
That we do.
Like you said, let's go through the list here.
All right, number 1, at least in terms of how they were announced to us.
Right.
The Rockstar staff.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we have a correct order, but this is how it was given to us.
Sure. This isn't a ranking.
No.
And we should point out that the matchups for that first round all randomly made.
Yes, and we'll talk about that later. We'll have another podcast coming up before Tournament of Flight heading into June, and at that point in time, we'll talk specifically about the matchups. We don't know them yet. Let's just talk about the competitors right now.
Sure. Number 1 is no stranger to the Rockstar Nation. It is Shane Strickland.
How great is it to see Shane Strickland back in Rockstar Pro? I mean, this guy, when you hear about Tournament of Flight, he's one of the guys you have to think of immediately. One of the best competitors in the world. Shane Strickland, you see him competing all over the place, winning championships, winning trios championships, winning all sorts of gold across the United States, and now he's coming back to Rockstar Pro. This guy could be a favorite.
Yeah, and it has been a while.
Yes.
You gonna give me been a while?
It's been a while.
Okay. Since Strickland was in the Rockstar Pro Arena, but it was always a special treat to have him there. It seemed like every time Strickland was at Rockstar Pro, there was an opportunity that he was going to steal the show. And let's not forget, Mark, Strickland was in the Revolution
yeah. I actually
a while back when it was the Foundation, the original Foundation, not the new Foundation.
Yeah, that is true. I tried to forget about that.
So, he's a pretty smart guy.
Well, it'll be interesting to see where he stands. I don't know if that'll come up at all in this tournament format, if he still has ties to the current Revolution, if he has ties to Jake Christ, who's now in OI4K. I don't know what the deal is about that. Be interesting to find out. But this guy, he's been around a while. He had his first match in March of 2009. Mm-hmm. He's been wrestling for, what's the math there, 8 years now. He's won titles in CZW, Lucha Underground, WXW, among other places. One of the best wrestlers. He's competed in tournaments like this before. Mm-hmm. He has experience. He could go far in this one.
Yeah, this is a guy coming in who has competed, I think, on a pretty steady basis against the best wrestlers in the world. So you can understand why he was announced early. I think an easy favorite for a lot of fans in this tournament.
Absolutely. And the second competitor we have on our list here is a person from Mexico.
Mexico City, to be in fact.
Absolutely.
In fact? Don't let me get away with that, Mark.
I don't know. I think you make a lot of mistakes. I just try to ignore them. And his name is Arrow Boy. This will be quite interesting here to see how the Lucha Libre competitor does in this tournament of Flight.
Sure, yeah, he does have that Lucha Libre background, but let's not forget, he's also competed in CZW. He's competed in Japan. I mean, when you travel like that, regardless of your style, you're learning about other styles, and that's something you need, I think, to be successful in a tournament like the Tournament of Flight.
Yeah, this Arrow Boy, he's a small competitor. He's only 141 pounds. But obviously, he has that great high-flying style. And another interesting thing about him, he's competed in deathmatch tournaments and death matches before. He has that hardcore edge to him. That may give him some sort of an advantage in this tournament as well. He has other styles other than high-flying. It'll be real interesting to see how he matches up. A lot of first-time matchups. I don't think he's competed against a lot of these competitors in this tournament before. Not much people know a lot about him. So, I don't know. He might be a surprise in this one.
That's true. Well, speaking of surprises, we have number 3, that's Space Monkey.
Yes.
Not to be confused with Spider Monkey.
No, not at all. This is Space
Monkey. Who
I'm
glad is not in this tournament.
Well, Spider Monkey would have fit in quite well, but Space Monkey, this will be a welcomed addition. This is a young guy that's been making a name for himself the last couple of years. He might be one of the least experienced members on this list. One thing that jumps out when I just look at this list is the amount of experience. A lot of times you see a high-flying tournament, and you think of youngsters that are coming into the business that can flip and fly around.
We have a handful of those, for sure.
We have a handful, but we have a lot of people that have been around for 10-plus years in this tournament. Space Monkey is not one of them. He made his debut in summer of 2014, but he's been very impressive since he made his debut. In fact, he won the Young Lions Cup tournament just recently. He's the Young Lions Cup champion in Chikara right now. So he's an up-and-coming star right there.
Absolutely, no question about that. Worked for Chikara, Beyond, Smash up in Canada. I don't know if you mentioned he was Canadian or not.
He is Canadian. I don't know if I did either. I don't remember.
But yeah, a guy to look, I think, very closely at, to pay attention to. Could play, let's face it, a spoiler in this tournament.
Yeah, and Space Monkey, the first thing you notice when this guy will come to the ring is he's very entertaining. He's the Space Monkey coming out. You don't expect him to do the moves that he can do in that ring. Mm-hmm. He's more than just an entertaining persona. This guy can go in the ring.
But he, I believe, doesn't speak. They could not teach the monkey to talk.
No, apparently not.
He can go to space and back, but...
Maybe we should have him as a guest on the podcast. I want to hear a few of what he has to say. Maybe you can bring it out of him, Bork.
Moving on.
Oh, okay.
You have Facade, again, returning to Rockstar Pro Arena.
Yeah, we've seen Facade on a few occasions.
The Neon Ninja.
That's right, and he fits right into a tournament like this. He's been wrestling for over 10 years now, made his debut October of 2006, and he's competed in tournaments just like this before. One of the tournaments I failed to mention earlier, the Super Indie Tournament, takes place in Pittsburgh. He's a former 3-time Super Indie champion, so he's won tournaments like this before, and now he brings that here to Rockstar Pro in Dayton. Let's see if he can pull off a victory in this tournament with huge names in this one.
My biggest problem with Facade, I don't trust anyone who wears that much neon. I expect them to be, huggers, and not into huggers.
Well, I think it's very interesting. This guy with the spray paint, he can sign his name beautifully, real quick, too. I mean, he's got a lot of artistic ability. I don't think you have ability like that, Bork.
Are you kidding me? Have you heard my band?
No, I haven't. I don't think I want to.
You do. Well, maybe you don't, because it's so good, it would blow your feeble little mind.
Oh, would it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Take you to new worlds, man.
Well, this isn't about you and your band.
You're right. Yeah. This is about the Tournament of Flight, so let's move on.
Yeah, Facade, I mean, this guy, we said it before about Aeroboy, but he might be overlooked a little bit with all the big names in this, but he has a lot of success in tournaments. He might move on to this one. He might play a spoiler as well.
Sure. Well, speaking of big names, speaking of success, we got to talk about my best bud from the Revolution.
Oh, well, which one's your best bud? I don't remember.
Desmond Xavier.
Oh, it's not Zach?
He's my best friend.
Oh, okay.
And Clay's my best bro. Are you not paying attention?
They sound like similar things to me.
Well, it's all about nuance, Mark.
Okay,
it's all about details.
Go ahead.
Desmond Xavier. Yeah, he's been in this period lately where, this whole Des Akis thing.
Yeah, is Desmond Xavier in this tournament, or is Des Akis in this tournament?
Come on, Mark. They're one and the same. It's just Des took that loss to Aaron Williams at In Like a Lion. He took it pretty hard, and he's coping with it, but his brothers, his family in the Revolution are there. We've got his back. We're taking care of him. He'll be back tip-top shape, back to himself in no time.
So when you hang out with Desmond Xavier, I assume you do, as Revolution members tend to do. Does he wear the mask when he just walks around outside of the Rockstar Pro Arena? Is he Des Akis all the time now? What's going on?
That's privileged information.
And what's with his voice? Does his voice always carry like that? He doesn't even sound like Desmond Xavier.
Privileged information, Mark. Privileged information.
But Desmond Xavier, I mean, if this guy brings his A game, if he's not this Des Akis, Aaron Williams knocking the sense out of him, if he's Desmond Xavier, this is one of the guys, this could be a statement tournament for a guy like Desmond Xavier. You could say that about several guys that are on the Rockstar Pro roster, but Desmond Xavier, this guy's been making a name for himself across the nation the last few months. I mean, he recently competed in PWG, which is one of the top places there is around USA. And I mean, this is another way to get his name out there on a national level. If he can win a tournament with the likes of these names, that could do wonders for him.
That's the thing. I think Des is one of those guys that really can do it all. The single stuff, the tag team stuff. I mean, he's incredibly strong. You take one look at that physique and you recognize just how powerful Desmond Xavier is in the ring. But he's got that grace and agility, too. This is a tournament of flight, and he has no fear when it comes to flying off that top rope.
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, we've seen him do some incredible things. We've seen him flip off the top of the building before.
We have, and a food truck.
Yes, we have. He's done some amazing things. But Desmond, the one thing about Des is despite all the ability we've seen, which it's obvious the ability that the man possesses, he hasn't really had championship success at Rockstar Pro. We haven't seen him win tag team championships. We haven't seen him win the Rockstar Pro Championship, World Championship. We haven't seen him win the LuchaCore belt. But this could be a chance right here for him to really staple his name as a main event talent in Rockstar Pro, winning a tournament like this.
That's an excellent point. And he may not be the youngest guy on the roster, but he is fairly new to this business, only a few years in. And you got to say, he's been making a huge name for himself, not just here in the United States, but in Europe as well.
Yeah.
You know, Dez, they call him the Cardiac Kid for a reason. He puts on heart-stopping matches.
Yeah, he does.
And I really think Dez is going to have a great chance in this tournament of flight.
Absolutely. And you said Dez may not have a bunch of experience in professional wrestling, but our next competitor, number 6 here, he certainly does. And that is Dave Christ, the human gift machine. Dave Christ, he's been wrestling since 2003. And now he brings that to this tournament of flight. And we know all about Dave Christ. I don't know if we have to spend too much time talking about him.
The less time, the better, Mark. The less time, the better.
This guy's done it all. He's one of the more experienced members in this tournament. He's 34 years old, been wrestling, like I said, since 2003. I think he's a heavy favorite to win this one.
And he chopped me.
And what?
And he chopped
me. That's another one of his accomplishments. I should have put that at the top of the list, actually.
Yeah, right.
That was amazing.
Well, that's the thing I think that's so fascinating about this business. Both, spoiler alert, both Christ brothers in this tournament. And to see them, I think, reach the heights of success that they have recently, I think finally getting the recognition that they truly deserve, I think that's kind of one of those magical things about the professional wrestling business. One of those things that makes people stick through the tough times is when they see people who deserve to succeed finally get a shot at that brass ring.
No doubt about it. And Dave Christ, just recently, he won a style battle tournament for the Evolve promotion. And a huge victory for him there. He defeated some big names in that tournament, so he has recent tournament success. He's bringing it here to the Tournament of Flight as well. Agreed.
And let's also talk about the fact that, Dave's a trainer.
Yes.
And I think that
point.
Brings some unique perspective and experience to any contest, especially a tournament like this where you're going to see a lot of different styles in the ring.
No doubt. And in fact, some of the people he's trained are in this tournament as well. So he could have an advantage over those individuals. And like you said, just being a trainer and being in that ring, training other people week after week, day after day, has an advantage, no doubt about it, over many of the other competitors in this tournament.
Yeah, well, one thing I do have to bring up about Dave, though, and this is...
I expect you to bring the negative.
I think it's an honest concern, Mark.
What is it?
We saw it amped last week. Dave was clearly in a lot of pain at the end of his match with Alex Colon. Yeah, he won the match. But I think he also hurt himself in that match. And we know, Dave's talked to us. He's been spending some time at the chiropractor of late. Mm-hmm. I have to wonder how that might influence his chances in, what could be a grueling tournament. To win this thing, you got to get through, two singles matches and a 4-way match.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, 2 straight nights, you have to win 3 matchups against 3 of the best in the world, in North America. I mean, that is a concern. But Dave Christ, he's been wrestling through pain. He's been wrestling injured for a while. And frankly, most pro wrestlers that have the schedule that Dave Christ has,
right,
like his brother,
right,
like other members of OI4K, they wrestle injured all the time. And I think Dave Christ is used to wrestling hurt. And we saw him get hurt this past week, but remember, it's March.
Yes.
This tournament isn't happening until early June.
That's a fair point.
He has time to recover the best that he can, which might be hard with his grueling schedule wrestling all over the country.
Right.
But
WrestleCon's next weekend.
Yes, it is. And but I'm sure he will do the absolute best he can to be 100% for this tournament. He knows how big of a deal this is.
It's true. Well, let's stop talking about Dave Christ. I think we've already spent too much time talking about Dave Christ.
If we must.
And talk about yet another Rockstar Pro competitor joining in this tournament. No stranger to tournaments in Rockstar Pro.
Nope.
Nate Wings.
Yeah, Nate Wings. How about that? This is a name right here that this tournament is made for him. When you look at Rockstar Pro, you think of Tournament of Flight, Nate Wings is one of the first names that comes to mind right there. This is a huge chance for him on a national stage. Everybody across the nation is going to be looking at this tournament right here. And Nate Wings might be somebody, I mean, the other people on Rockstar's roster they may have heard of, but Nate Wings is somebody that maybe they haven't heard of.
Right.
And this is a huge opportunity for Nate right here to impress people, not just in the Dayton, Ohio area, but for all across the nation to see what he can do.
Yeah, and when it comes to style, when it comes to preference of offense, as you said, Nate Wings is going to be completely at home in this tournament, because that's, I think, the one thing that's been consistent throughout his career at Rockstar Pro and beyond. You know, regardless of his attitude, it's been that he's had that high-flying offense.
No doubt about it. And the other competitors in this tournament, at least many of them, you could look at them and say, sure, they have high-flying ability, but that might not be their only staple. I mean, they're well-rounded wrestlers in all sense. Nate Wings, his bread and butter is high-flying. This tournament is right up his alley. This is a big opportunity right here. Who knows who he'll be matched up with in the first round? It could be a big opportunity for him to face a huge name and perhaps pull off a big upset. Who knows?
That's right. You know, Wings, that multiple-time American Luchador champion. He won his famous Best of 7 series with Alex Colon. You know, and he's one of the day one originals. He's been in Rockstar Pro since the very beginning. One other thing I got to throw in there, you know, at 5'3", 119 pounds.
119,
he's one of the shorter competitors, but I think that's less of a hindrance in a match that's focused on flight.
Absolutely. And, you know, most all of these competitors are smaller-ish in stature for this tournament of flight. And, you know, he is the smallest competitor in the tournament, but that hasn't really stopped him before in matches.
That's true.
I mean, we talked about the first tournament we had to crown a Rockstar Pro champion back in 2013. He was in that 6-way match.
He was.
It was an elimination match, and in fact, he pinned Jake Christ in that matchup. So we've seen him beat incredible talent before.
Absolutely.
Maybe he can do it again here in 2017 in this tournament.
Yeah, well, I think that's what makes tournaments like this so compelling.
Yeah.
You know, it's the stories, you know, just, you know, you never shut the hell up about March Madness.
Right.
But it's the same thing. It's the stories, the rivalries that are formed in these matches that, you know, put a little bit of extra emotional investment into
it. No doubt. Nate Wings, he could be a bracket buster, and he might be like South Carolina, you know, making the Final Four. Nobody picked him. First time ever in the Final Four. There's your March Madness reference right there.
You playing in a lot of brackets? You filling out brackets? You got some money on the line?
I do have money on the line. If North Carolina wins it all, I got a little bit of money coming. But hopefully they pull it off.
Well, maybe you can buy me something nice. We did just have our 50th episode anniversary.
Yeah, I wasn't there. I heard about it, though.
Yeah, that was your fault. So who we got number 8?
At number 8, we have Trey Miguel. Trigger Trey Miguel. A lot like Nate Wings in this. A young competitor, one of the youngest ones in this tournament. And Trey Miguel, we know he's a former American Luchador champion. A lot like Nate Wings.
For a cup of
coffee? He still won the championship.
Fair enough.
That's a hard feat to accomplish. Trey Miguel, another person that could make a name for himself on a big stage at this tournament of flight.
Yeah, Mark, but, like, here's the thing. Like, you've noticed the last couple weeks at Amped, Trey has come out rapping his own
it's pretty awesome,
entrance music. You know, and I will take nothing away from him.
Kid's got a lot of talent.
He has some ability.
Yes. I'm sure his rap music is a lot better than your band.
Oh, shut up. And think about it this way.
Okay.
Focus on this point, Mark.
I'll let you say what you have to say. Go ahead.
All right. That must have taken a lot of time for him to come up with lyrics like that, for him to memorize them, for him to, you know, sync himself up with the music. Like,
possibly.
And you don't want to get blown up right before a big match, right?
No,
you don't want to get gassed. So he's got to, you know, I'm sure practice on breathing techniques and all this sort of stuff. So he's putting all this time and effort, all this focus into his entrance theme, into his, you know, rap persona. Do you think he's distracted? Do you think that this is going to get in his head and he's not focused on the tournament of flight?
I mean, you're starting to sound like Jesse Ventura questioning Ultimate Warrior running to the ring before WrestleMania. I mean, this is a bit ridiculous. I mean,
he had a good point.
Well, I mean, Ultimate Warrior was pretty successful in that WrestleMania, but never mind. Trey Miguel, I mean, this guy, he's been working so hard. I mean, you can see his body. When he first showed up at Rockstar Pro, this guy was skinny. I mean, he has been hitting the gym big time.
Cultivating mass.
Yes, he has. And, I mean, he's looking big, and he hasn't lost any of the high-flying ability despite adding so much muscle.
Right.
I mean, Trey Miguel, I mean, if he keeps improving the way he's been improving, this guy could be a big name on the indie scene in a couple of years.
All right, so moving on, let's go ahead and get to what? What?
Oh, well, okay. If you have nothing else to add to that.
Well, no. No one cares about Trey. What people
Really?
care about is the sickest dude
Oh, my God.
in all the land, Zachary Wentz, in at number 9 on our list for Tournament of Flight participants. What do you got to say about Zach, Mark?
Well, Zachary Wentz, former American LuchaCore champion, former Rockstar Pro World champion, and he's done all of that in only, 2-3 years? About 3
That's
years,
right.
I believe.
Yeah.
As a professional wrestler, I mean, he's very impressive. He's certainly one of the highest risers in the indie scene, making a name for himself everywhere. His Tournament of Flight, I mean, from the competitors that have the least amount of experience, he's one of the best on that end, no doubt about it.
Mark, when I think about professional wrestling, I think
Yes.
about creating moments in the ring.
Okay.
And when I think of that, I think about Zachary Wentz. Because I think back to some of those matches
Okay. What moments has
that
he had?
have just blown me away.
Okay.
Over the entire history of Rockstar Pro. Think about at A Killer Christmas,
Yeah.
Zachary Wentz versus JT Davidson.
Yeah.
Like,
that was nuts.
That was one of the most intense. It was physically grueling to call that match, let alone be in it. Mark.
I mean, Zachary Wentz, he faced off against the Iron Manager, a person that's not on the active roster per se, but the Iron Manager. Zachary Wentz showed a different side of himself in that matchup.
Yes, he did.
We had seen the kid that likes to fly around in that ring, but on that night, he showed a vicious side of him in that when he sees the sight of his own blood, it doesn't slow him down. In fact, it picked him up a bit in the match. You saw it. I mean, Zachary Wentz, he's really, as much as I hate to say it, he's coming into his own
That's
as
right.
a main event talent in Rockstar Pro.
And that bloodlust, Mark, that violence has
Yeah.
always been there. It's just a matter of it being untapped. Let's not
Right.
forget, this is a man kicked out of mixed martial arts competition in the state of Ohio.
Right.
He's banned. Not for anything he did to a competitor, but for, taking out a official after a match. But,
Yeah.
he's had that violent streak. But, it's
Now
not...
we're seeing it.
It's not just that. Let's go back even further. Do you remember the match for the number 1 contendership between a young Wentz and a Desmond Xavier?
I certainly do.
One of the best matches I've ever seen at Rockstar Pro Arena.
was a great
Both
match.
of those guys in this tournament.
They could match up in another matchup here. What would you think about that if they met in the tournament? Revolution versus Revolution.
I mean, that would be it'd be quite a bummer. The only way I'd want to see that is if it happened in that final match in which 4 men were competitors. But other than that, it would bum me out. I would cheer for both of them equally. I show no favoritism.
Zachary Wentz, he may not be an OI4K anymore, but he's shown that killer instinct, and maybe that'll give him an edge in this tournament. Who knows? We'll see. He'll play a big part in this tournament, no doubt about it.
Well, I mean, any tournament he's in, it's going to be sick, dude.
Okay, well, moving on. I noticed we talked a lot more about him than we did Trey Miguel, but okay. Now we're on to number 10 on our list here, and this is a competitor from the West Coast. We have Scorpio Sky. This guy's been around a while, 34 years old, had his first match in June of 2002. Now he's bringing his talents here to Rockstar Pro, making his debut for Rockstar Pro Wrestling.
That's right. And again, he's been coast to coast on the U.S., been to Germany, England, worked for ROH. He's been everywhere, even all the way back to Wrestling Society X. You have positive memories of that?
I have some memories of that.
Yeah, it was a unique place and time, I think.
Yeah, it was. We had what? Tyler Black before he's known as Seth Rollins. Jimmy Jacobs. Do it for her. That's all I remember.
It's interesting to see, how far things have come.
Yeah.
Where people end up. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, and Scorpio Sky, like I said, he's been wrestling a long time. He had a little period there where I believe he took some time off from professional wrestling, but now he's back, and he's a former PWG Tag Team Champion. And he's competed in tournaments like this before. I remember seeing him at a Ted Petty Invitational back in 2007, I believe. And, now we're going to see him here 10 years later. Let's see what he can do in a Rockstar Pro ring.
Again, I think something so cool about a tournament like this. We just talked about Zach, who in just a couple years has done what so many independent professional wrestlers have never accomplished in their career. and our next competitor, someone with just years and years of experience in Scorpio Sky. I think that's pretty cool to see such contrast in a tournament like this.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, we have some of the great young stars in professional wrestling. And then we have a veteran like Scorpio Sky coming in here. I can't wait to see the matchups, the first round matchups, when they're announced. It'll be really interesting to see how Scorpio Sky does in a tournament like this.
That's right, and we'll be talking about those getting closer to the tournament on an upcoming edition of Backstage Pass. So before we have that tournament, you'll hear from us all about the matchups. But for now, tell us about number 11, DJZ.
Yeah, DJZ. This might be one of the bigger names in this tournament. DJZ, this guy's competed on national TV. He's a former 2-time X Division champion. I mentioned about the Super Indie tournament earlier in Pittsburgh. This guy's a former 2-time Super Indie champion. This guy's only 30 years old.
Yeah.
But he's been around for so long and he's done so much. It's kind of hard to believe he's only 30 years old, to be honest.
Right, and we say the best of North America represented in this tournament, but there's experience that goes global. Again, DJZ not just competed in Mexico as well, but also in DDT in Japan.
Yeah, so he's competed in Japan before. I mean, he was born in the Philippines, raised in America. He's bringing some of that international flavor here to this tournament. He's accomplished a lot. I mean, this guy, whether he's known as DJZ, Zima Ion, Shima Zion, this guy's done a lot in the sport of professional wrestling, and I can't wait to see his debut in Rockstar Pro.
Early favorite, would you have to say?
Yeah, I would say so. With his experience and what he's done in tournaments before, I'd say he's a favorite in this.
So let's go ahead and talk about number 12. Someone that I think many of our regulars in the Rockstar Nation may not be all that familiar with.
Right.
Although he has been around for a while. Tell us about Winnipeg, Canada, you idiots, own Danny Duggan.
Yeah, Danny Duggan. Like you said, I didn't know that much about this guy. I had to look him up online, and very interesting story, this Danny Duggan. He's been around since January of 2003, and he's 30 years old at this time, but he is the biggest competitor in this tournament. He's about 210 to 220 pounds, depending on what website you look at, as I found out.
Right.
But, that leads me to this point. There aren't weight limits in this tournament.
Right. That's a great point.
We're just bringing in the best high flyers, the best athletes that we can find in North America to this tournament. And Danny Duggan fits that spot. Who cares what size he is, right?
Right.
But that size might be an advantage for him in this tournament, per se. If he gets matched up with one of the smaller competitors, like Arrow Boy or Nate Wings, he may change his style from high flying and use that size to his advantage.
Yeah.
We'll have to see what the matchups are. But Bork, I see you have notes there. Who was Danny Duggan trained by?
Trained by Johnny Devine. I do think that point about size is really important.
Yeah.
Because although this is titled the Tournament of Flight, it's not as if submissions are banned.
No,
it's not as if you can't do power moves or anything like that. It's a theme that runs throughout the tournament, but by no means is a man like Duggan banned from using his size to his advantage.
Yeah, even though this is all about flight, we're not in like a strict weight class. We still have people all the way from 125 pounds to 220 pounds. There's still 100-pound weight differences between competitors here, so size will play a role, I presume, in Danny Duggan's match. It'll be very interesting to see how he competes in this tournament, making his debut for Rockstar Pro.
Most definitely. And at number 13, we're into the Final Four here. Not that Final Four.
Oh, okay. I did get excited.
The Zombie Hunter.
I love that name.
Mentalo.
Here's another Canadian. We have a lot of Canadians on this list here.
Well, I think there's obviously a long history of wrestling in Canada, but I think their kind of independent scene is experiencing a revival.
Yes, it certainly is, and there's a lot of untapped potential up there, and we're seeing some of that come down here for this tournament. This Mentalo, as you said, is the most experienced and oldest competitor in this tournament. 37 years old. He had his debut match in June of 1997.
Wow.
I mean, he's been wrestling for 20 years.
Yeah.
He has a ton of experience, and it'll be very interesting to see how he hangs with some of the youngsters in this tournament. Let's see if the experience will will play an advantage for him,
right.
or maybe it won't against some of these young high flyers.
Yeah.
I don't know. This will be very interesting to see how this Mentallo competes in this tournament. But he has a ton of experience.
Yeah, well, with all these different styles, all these different types of offense coming at him, I think he's bound to eventually run into something he's never seen before.
Yeah.
In a tournament as varied as this. And the thing that blows me away, we're talking about this guy, a veteran at 34, 2 decades in the business. When we talk about a lot of these guys that are veterans, they started when they were 16, 17, 18 years old.
Absolutely.
I think that's, a unique thing about pro wrestling as well.
No doubt about it. I mean, it shows the love that everybody has for professional wrestling starting that young. Been wrestling for 20 years. And not only is this guy a wrestler, I mean, this guy's a great trainer as well.
Yeah, a very respected trainer in Canada. And, I'd say one fairly well-known name that trained under him is Kenny Omega.
Oh, yeah, he's doing okay for himself, isn't he?
I think, he's making a name on his way up. Well, give me another cliche.
No,
one of the biggest wrestlers in the world.
No, I refuse to give you a cliche. But this Mentallo, I mean, experience of training somebody like Kenny Omega. I mean, he's going to bring that experience to this tournament. Let's see what it does. I mean, I'll be very interested to see who he gets matched up with, how it competes. This is going to be a great tournament, no doubt about it.
And getting back to our numbered entrants here, only 3 left, 2 of which are Rockstar Pros. We have Aaron Williams, I think kind of a surprise entrant into this tournament.
I must say I was a little surprised to see Aaron Williams on here, because when you think of a tournament of flight, when you think of high flying, Aaron Williams isn't the first name that comes to mind. But when Aaron Williams first broke into the professional wrestling business back in 2005, he was part of a tag team called the Mavericks, which we've seen on occasion in Rockstar Pro. He was known as being a high flyer. He did a lot of moves off the top rope. And we're kind of seeing in this tournament, a lot of these names have a lot of experience.
Right.
Guys like Mentallo, guys like Danny Duggan, they've been around. They're in their 30s. And they may not be as much of the high flyers they used to be when they first started.
Right.
But they still have that ability. And in fact, they're not just pure high flyers. That's just one element of their game in professional wrestling.
Right.
They're bringing all that experience. And we're seeing that with Aaron Williams in this tournament. Who knows? He may have an advantage in this for not being the prototypical high flyer.
Yeah. As you said, we think of him. We think of, devastating strikes.
No doubt.
Amongst other things.
Yeah.
But, let's just, again, look back to last week at AM. Aaron Williams versus Jake Christ in our main event.
Right.
Aaron was busting out some aerial moves, some high-risk moves there that I think was kind of a way for him to say, hey, look, I have a chance in this tournament of flight. I belong to be there.
Yeah, he was doing springboards. He was doing splashes off the top. And we know he has that ability in him. And he'll bust that out on occasion when he's in there with a guy like Jake Chris, where you have to pull out all the stops to pick up a victory. That's what this whole tournament's going to be like. Each round of this tournament, you're going to have to bring everything you have. And Aaron Williams, who knows? Maybe he'll win it.
I'm just curious, with this whole joining of the Knight Riders, and his focus on violence more than anything else,
right?
Is he going to be able to kind of set that to the side? Because if he just focuses on violence, he might get himself disqualified. And this is all about moving your way up in this tournament.
You're right. It seems like he doesn't care as much about victories as of late, just inflicting damage as much as he can do. But at the same time, maybe that brutal edge to him will be an advantage in this tournament. Maybe he's not going to be concerned with flipping and flying off the top rope. He might just be concerned with punching people in the face, kicking them in the head, knocking them out, and picking up the 1, 2, 3 and moving on. That might work for him. I don't know.
It may be. So from a Rockstar Day 1 original to one of the names that I think people associate with indie wrestling since they learned about it on Day 1.
Yeah.
And that is the whole Foxen show, the highest flyer in the game, AR Fox.
I know a lot of people, when the Tournament of Flight was announced from Rockstar Pro, this was a guy that first popped into everybody's head. Like, I would love to see AR Fox in this tournament coming back to the Rockstar Pro Arena. Only competed for Rockstar Pro, I believe, on one other occasion, right?
Yeah.
He's been in the building a few times for CZW and such, but
right.
Yeah, AR Fox coming back to Rockstar Pro Wrestling. I think in many people's minds, this guy might be the favorite to win this whole tournament. This guy, very skilled, especially in a high-flying tournament. That's his bread and butter right there. One of the best high flyers in the entire world.
Known for being a risk taker, known for death-defying acts of aerial acrobatics. AR Fox, I think, is... Again, there's a handful of people I think you'd put at the top when it comes to favorites to win. He's got to be one of them. Ranked number 94 when it comes to singles wrestler in the PWI Top 500 in 2014.
Yeah, he may have been underrated if you ask me, too.
And honestly, I'd argue he's only gotten better since 2014.
Yeah, I mean, this guy right here. Just think about this. In AAW, CZW, Evolve, Dragon Gate USA, and Lucha Underground, he's won championships in all of those promotions. Wow. He hasn't just competed in those promotions. Right. He's won championships in all those promotions. Absolutely incredible. And who knows, if he wins a Tournament of Flight, maybe he'll be in line to get a Rockstar Pro World Championship, and maybe he'll try to win a championship here in Rockstar Pro. You never know.
You never know. And again, I think one of the exciting things about a tournament like this, we always say anything can happen at Rockstar Pro. I think that goes doubly for this Tournament of Flight.
Yeah, no doubt about it. AR Fox, certainly a heavy favorite to win this one. And now we're moving on to the last competitor. I'm sure this is somebody that everybody here in Rockstar Nation loves. I'm sure you love him too, Bork. I know you kind of not love him as much as of late. But Jake Christ, we save one of the best names for last here. The artist, Jake Christ, our 16th and final entrant in this Tournament of Flight.
I have nothing but respect for the artist that is Jake Christ. Not a huge fan of his family or the company he keeps, but nevertheless, I can't take anything away from his in-ring ability and simply, I guess the best way to put it is his artistry. This man, uses the canvas, the squared circle, to create his art, and I can't. No matter what I say, no matter our rocky history, I cannot deny that aspect, that brilliance in Jake Christ.
Yeah, I mean, Jake Christ, everybody knows about what Jake has done in Rockstar Pro. I mean, but let's talk about other things he's done. I mean, he's wrestled since 2003. He's been around for a long time, the same time his brother debuted, obviously. Jake Christ, this guy's won tournaments before. This guy's won Heartland Cup before, where he defeated Zack Sabre Jr. in that tournament. I mean, this guy, he's won tournaments just like this before.
Right.
And he's bringing that experience. I mean, we're talking about AR Fox being a heavy favorite. Jake Christ, we can't overlook him. Jake Christ is also a favorite to win this tournament.
Well, yeah, and you got to think about that home field advantage.
Yes, no doubt.
I mean, the Rockstar Nation, as
the Killer Cult,
thick as they may be, they understand that Jake is something special, and they get behind that.
He certainly is, and now the entire nation is finally starting to truly see what Jake Christ, the talent he possesses, as well as his brother Dave. And this is just another opportunity for the whole nation to see what Jake Christ can do, especially both he and his brother. This is a big opportunity to see them on a singles, for singles competition, see what they can do on their own in this tournament. Well, who knows? Maybe he'll get matched up against his brother in this tournament.
I was going to say, you asked me if Zach and Dez got matched up.
Yeah.
What would I do? What are you going to do if it's Dave versus Jake?
I think I'll just love the matchup. I mean, we've seen them compete against each other so many times throughout the years. It's always a classic. I mean, there's no feeling in the air during a match like during a Dave versus Jake match. I mean, it's something special. If we're lucky enough to get that in this tournament, it'll be great, no doubt about it.
Well, there you have it. All 16 participants in the inaugural Tournament of Flight at Rockstar Pro Wrestling. It's all going to go down June 2nd and 3rd. Yeah. That's a Friday and Saturday night at Rockstar Pro Wrestling, 1106 East 3rd Street in lovely downtown Dayton, Ohio. Mark, anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, everybody needs to mark the calendars Friday and Saturday of that
That's
month.
Right.
I mean, keep both of those days free. But now that we're looking at all 16 of the names, Bork, is there any one or two names that jump out to you as who you think is going to win this tournament, based on the knowledge we know right now?
There are only two, Mark.
Why did I even ask this question?
I think you know who they are. Desmond Xavier, Zachary Wentz. I see both of them given the opportunity, seeing that they're not matched up in rounds 1 or 2, right? I think both of these young men go all the way to the final. One of them comes out on top.
Well, an interesting development is, as you said, the final match in this tournament is a 4-way matchup.
That's right.
In the finals, it could be interesting if we have both Zach and Dez, for example, maybe both Dave and Jake.
Sure.
In the finals, will they team up and eliminate the others in the matchup, leave it to just those two in the finals? I don't know. There's a lot of questions to be answered for this tournament, no doubt about it. But
what about Fox and Strickland?
You're right. Yeah, they're tag team champions in another promotion. I mean, part of a trios champions, I guess I should say.
Sure. I mean, they know each other well. No question
absolutely.
about that.
There are a lot of alliances in this tournament. But, I know you didn't ask me, but if you ask me, some of the favorites I would say in this tournament, I think you got to give it to AR Fox. I think he's a heavy favorite in this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Jake Christ as well. The last two names we had on this list of the tournament, I think those two are probably the heavy favorites in this one. But, I mean, who knows? In a tournament like this, so many surprises could happen. So many things could happen. I mean, you have to be at this tournament. I mean, 16 of the best names in North America. Who knows who's going to come out on top in this one?
That's right, and I believe you can get online now, order those tickets for front row and second row seats.
Yes, you can.
They are going fast. Hit up RockstarProWrestling.com. Hit up RockstarProNetwork.com.
Yeah.
Watch us on Fight TV. What else, Mark?
Is there anything else? I don't know. Is that all the stuff?
I think that's most of the stuff.
Do we update YouTube anymore? Go to the
YouTube. There are new matches on YouTube. I think there are some recent amps available on YouTube as well. So
go there.
Check it out. Really? You're just going to leave me hanging like that?
I thought you were the host. Are you going to wrap this up for us?
All right. Well, see you next time very soon as we address what's coming up in spring break.
Yeah.
But until then, you're listening to Backstage Pass. I'm Bork Torkelson. That's Mark Turner.
Yeah, thanks for actually inviting me this month.
You're welcome. Thanks for thanking me.
That's all for this episode. Be sure to come back for another edition of Backstage Pass, Rockstar Pro Wrestling's official podcast.